This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Boring. Boring. Boring.
Okay, get into it. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember what you're doing. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Makes me laugh. Hello, welcome back to another edition of Lembit Öpik live here on Unprecedented TV, where we find the facts, kill the spin, and tell it like it is as best we can. Well, I'm very glad that you have joined us, because free speech is very much on the agenda here at LOL, and that's Lembit Öpik live if you haven't worked it out, and Unprecedented generally. And free speech is under attack once again. First of all, though, a big thanks to you for watching the home of free speech, hopefully in the online world. Lots of other good podcasters, but I think we're the first and arguably the only free speech TV station currently operating in this particular sphere. If you know better, then do let me know. I'd love to get into a polite and friendly competition with other purveyors of free speech, but not such good news in the United Kingdom, where recently the Home Secretary has said that she thinks that she needs to stop us from protesting. Or to be more precise, she wants to stop repeat protests, which cause cumulative impacts. Now, let me put that in a different way, because that's a bit of a mouthful. What she wants to do is stop protests that are working, in my view. If you have a regular protest, for example, in support of Palestine, she thinks that could be offensive. Never mind the fact they've mixed up Judaism with a nation, a religion with a nation. We'll maybe talk about that a little bit later on. The big issue here is that they don't like people who protest again and again and again about the same subject. Why not? Maybe because it's effective. Maybe if you go and protest every week, eventually someone will listen, and that wouldn't do at all. Yes, the Labour Party, never known for its advocacy of free speech, despite what they might tell you in their woke world, are now happy to shut down or move or retime your protest if it's causing offence, or which in some cases might be justified, but largely isn't, or if you're actually being heard. Now, this is the problem. And this is what I want to discuss on the show today. How much free speech is too much free speech? And to what extent can we reasonably say that liberty is something that those who don't agree with you should tolerate in a free society? The right to say things that other people don't agree with. Well, I would go all the way with that. I'm an intense libertarian, and I think that as soon as government starts saying you can't say this or that, you end up in a totalitarian system, not unlike what George Orwell warned us about all those decades ago. Even more bluntly, this government seems to absolutely hate dissent. Yes, the Labour Party wants you to shut up, sit down, follow the programme, get your digital ID card, and don't rock the boat. They seem very happy with non-crime hate speech, where it goes down in your record, even if you haven't really done anything illegal. More than that, they're willing to arrest individuals who pray silently outside closed abortion clinics. And they've arrested preachers, Christian preachers in the south of England, because they might cause offence in the street. This is the world we live in now. A world where they banged up Lucy Connolly for over a year for hurty words on the internet. But then they let Labour councillor Ricky Jones go, even though he was talking about slitting the throats of right-wingers he didn't like. It seems to many that we now have a politicized justice system, a politicized free speech system, and worst of all now, the censorship, the dead hand of socialism, trying to stop those that don't agree with them from speaking up. But who is right? Am I going too far? You can have your say on X. Join me at Lembit Öpik, and happy to have a conversation with you one-to-one. Or also you can join us at YouTube on Unprecedented TV. But whatever you're doing, please think seriously about what you're going to hear now. Joining me now is somebody who's very, very big advocate of free speech. It's none other than Warren Thornton, who hopefully is going to join us. There he is. For a minute, I thought we'd lost you there. And good to see you again. How are you doing, Warren?
I'm absolutely fine, thank you, Lembit. I'm a little bit worried about your free speech back in the UK. It does seem to me absolutely crazy. And I couldn't help but think about something you just said there. When you turned around and said people were being arrested for praying in the street. It's very, very strange, isn't it? That a Christian, somebody praying Christian-like, very, very quietly to themselves, gets arrested just for thought or for whatever crazy reason they come out with. Yet you can put down 1,000 prayer mats, block off the traffic or stop people from walking anywhere, and start praying in the street openly without being bothered by the police. I'm not quite sure how that works.
Well, a couple of things. You're right. It wasn't even praying quietly. It was praying silently. And the police, in this absolutely appalling miscarriage of moral justice, were asking the lady, what were you doing? Essentially, what were you thinking? And that is exactly the kind of thought crime that George Orwell covered in his dystopian prediction of the future, which is now our present, 1984. Big picture here, Warren. You're over in the Philippines. I don't know what free speech is like there, but it's probably a damn sight better than it is over here in the United Kingdom. What's happened is the Home Secretary has suggested that she's going to tighten up the regulations. She's using the cover of the pro-Palestine demonstrations as an excuse. They ridiculously, in my view, tried to mix up Judaism and Zionism. We haven't got time to go into that, but essentially they mixed up Judaism, which is a religion, with Israel, which is a state, and somehow said that campaigning against Israeli action in Palestine was offensive to Jewish people. It doesn't even make any logical sense. That's like saying that you should, that by complaining about Tony Blair's illegal war in Iraq, you're criticizing Catholics because he's a Catholic. Doesn't make any sense. But that's for another time. Fundamentally, what she's saying is that they want to stop repeat protests which have a culminative impact. Now, that sounds to me, Warren, like they're saying, if you're getting somewhere with your demonstrations, we want to stop you.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the subject, you know, that you were talking about just then, I'm summing up in one sentence. One's a religion and one's an ideology. They don't equate to each other whatsoever. But to get to your point here, it does seem a very strange thing that you can only protest at certain times or whatever, or will monitor the protest. That is absolute nonsense, of course. She's talking absolute rubbish. What she wants to do is curtail the speech, which is what Keir Starmer has wanted to do. You have to remember that these are the people who allow the police to come to your door at 2 a.m. in the morning to wake you up so you're disorientated when they want to give you a warning, and they'll send 4 or 5 police officers around. And this is very, very simply the same thing they were going to say about Islamophobia. They're now going to turn around and say that you can't talk about anything to do with Jewish people or Israelites. You can't talk about Islam. What subjects can you talk about? Over here, you're allowed to talk about things openly and freely. It is more and more the trouble with when you start doing things like this. It becomes a total ban, and of course, they're the first 5 letters of that wonderful idea of totalitarianism, which is an absolutely horrific thing.
That's right. There she is, Shabana Mahmood. In this particular interview, she was trying to say she's going to be really tough on migration, but then you kind of think, really, if she's so obsessed with shutting down free speech, can you really trust her in other areas? And I watched some dreadful interviews with her, where she essentially said that these demonstrations cause offense. And it seems to me they literally are totally mixed up, just as you've said there, Warren, that Israel is a nation state, and it's got this situation going on with Palestine. You don't have to say the word Jewish one time to discuss the actual situation there. Nation state, the issues in Palestine, people take aside. But she and the Prime Minister start talking about Judaism. Why? Why do exactly the thing that you shouldn't do? You can be a Zionist, which, as you say, is a political creed, and be not Jewish. You can be anti-Zionist and you can be Jewish. It doesn't make any sense. And yet they've got to a situation now where they're telling us that if you're campaigning one way or another, you have to take a side about Judaism. And am I the only person who thinks this is incredibly dangerous? Because they're conflating the two.
Yes. Yeah, I think you are. I mean, how far do you go with this? I mean, you remember the Shabana Mahmood scandal over the 70,000 donation. Are we allowed to talk about that? Where do you draw the line? Once you start... Now, I might disagree with you, Lembit. You and I do disagree sometimes, and we have a wonderful debate over it. Here's the thing. I might disagree with anything you say, and people out there might disagree with anything I say. They're entitled to think I'm an idiot and entitled to say so. I'm entitled to disagree with them. That's what having a debate and having a free, fair and open society is about. Once you stop the people's ability to talk, that ferments anger, it ferments, shall we say, a sense of injustice, and that can only lead to bad things. Once you stop, if you like, a soul's right to breathe, it is quite damning. Of course, this time when the Labour government, it's the same. It is a, how can I put this? This is going down the same path as the digital ID and everything else, where they can literally hammer you if you've had too many carbon credits or anything else. This is just your free. This is the most important thing of all: your free speech being taken away. What if you don't like climate change, Lembit?
Well, I don't believe that human beings are wrecking the climate, and they have talked about making that an offence, a crime, to question human-generated climate change, even though it's a lie. Human-generated climate emergency doesn't exist. In fact, I've been tweeting about this today, and that's a conversation for another time. But they could be close to saying that that's illegal. Would they silence a march in central London of people like me who say the science shows what you're saying is total tosh, but you are wrecking our economy? Well, let's have a look. I mean, this is the sort of thing that they're putting out in the media now. This is from the government itself. New police powers to protect communities from disruption caused by protest. That's the point of a protest. That's why you protest. Police forces will be authorized to consider the culminative impact of protests, assessing previous activity when deciding to impose limits on protesters. That sounds to me, Warren, like if you've been successful with your protest, if you've actually embarrassed the government or caused them to be obstructed in what they're doing, you'll be stopped.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are many, many people that disagree with the lockdowns. This is a lockdown forever of your free speech. Once they do it on one subject, Lembit, they can do it on another. Remember, they've already tried to do it by calling people far right and Islamophobes and everything else. You don't see those people being locked up. It is a one-way street, and it is a cul-de-sac with no turning around at the bottom.
Yeah, the problem is this headline actually comes from the government. That's from the government's own department. Now, I want to have a government which would say new police powers to protect communities' right to cause disruption with protests. I wanted them to do the opposite. As long as it's not violent, that is what a protest is. You can have 1 million people standing in the middle of London, stopping everybody, saying we shouldn't be going to war in Iraq. Now, if Tony Blair had actually listened, then he wouldn't have forever tarnished his reputation and made Britain hated in a lot of countries. We might have even won the Eurovision Song Contest a bit more often if he hadn't done that. That's another story. The fact is, so new police powers to protect communities from disruption caused by protest. The opposite of what I believe, Warren. If I was a Home Secretary, I would say, I will protect your right to demonstrate, but here's the deal. Behave. Don't cause violence. Don't cause damage. You can do what else you like. Oh, yeah, but we're demonstrating in favor of the climate emergency. I don't care. I don't agree with you. I don't care. I'll give you the space.
Yeah.
Well, we're demonstrating against abortion. I don't care. Just do it without breaking, without causing violence, without breaking things, and you can do it. Whatever the subject, I'd let them do it. Unless it's actually inciting hatred. This is actually the exact opposite of what I believe in. And I'm just wondering how we got here. Why is the Labour Party, which used to, claim to be carrying out people and everything else, why is it doing it? What's it so scared of?
It's scared of the people because there has never been, and let's put it this way, Lembit, when they say freedom of speech, they actually mean freedom, the freedom to choose how you want to think, what you want to say. When you have a police force coming to your door at 2 o'clock in the morning to warn you that what you said online was deemed by who as offensive? You see, it is who gets to make the rules here that is the major issue. And there has never been, in all the time I've been alive, a greater disconnect than there is between the people at the very top and the people they are supposed to serve. And it is getting to a point where people have almost to the point of had enough. And when they say you can't protest, people will get to the point of, I can't protest, fine, I will riot. Now, I'm not advocating that you do that. But when you take that away, when you take a person's right to speak away, Lembit, this festers, it becomes something that is an undercurrent, and it's all negative. It's never a good thing.
Yeah, and I often disagree with Amnesty International. On this occasion, I agree with them. There's a UK new police powers to tackle protests, yet another attempt to clamp down on human rights. And I think that's absolutely correct. Protest is a human right. And what we're seeing here, and as I said, for once I agree with Amnesty International, maybe we'll try and get someone from that organization onto the station this week. It's actually shutting down the very thing that Britain has gone to war to protect, which is personal liberty. And Labour can't see it. These people, they don't understand this. They don't understand they're doing the exact opposite of what Britain's meant to stand up for.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, let's be absolutely honest here. What is happening in Britain is what happened under Stalin, what happened under Mao, and what happened in Germany in the 1930s. Is also what happens under dictators, is they decide that those people or any dissidents can be locked up or thrown in jail. And this isn't just happening in Great Britain. This is starting to happen all over Europe. The German police are just as bad in going and visiting people. And this is laid out by the autocrats of the European Union, Starmer and the World Economic Forum. I don't know about you, Lembit, but what they're doing is actually taking away the individual's right to have a say what happens in their own country. And when you do that, that is an autocracy, and that is so dangerous.
Before we go any further, let me remind you all of another show that we have here. It's called Dire Consequences with Claire Dyer. She's an absolute diamond. She sticks her head above the parapet. She is a true believer in free speech, freedom of expression, and she gets hassled for it too. What's this? That's a tremendous program with Claire Dyer. She is so well connected, but she's so focused as well. That combination means that she highlights things that you maybe would rather not know, but you should know. And it will reveal the whole state problem. Everything from cover up about drugs right through London employees lying about running down members of the public. So much to watch there. She's on every week, at least twice. But let's return to Warren Thornton here. We're talking about this extraordinary commitment, extraordinary in my view, by Ms. Mahmood. to actually take our liberties away, almost like she's bragging about it. And it seems to me that this is all about this terror that she's got and the government have about these Palestine Action people. The story here is that they turn up with their demonstrations, they do their demos, and then they seem to write these I don't know, banners and things which says Palestine Action. And because Palestine Action is a proscribed organization, would you believe technically a terrorist organization, then people who support them can get taken away and arrested. Yeah. They arrested 500 people recently. None of them, as far as I know, not one of whom was actually causing violence. And this is my big worry. By the way, I don't like Palestine Action. I just really dislike people who cause material damage. It cost millions in what they did to an aircraft in the RAF. So I'm not keen on them as an organization. But the idea of locking people up just for holding signs, it's just totally disproportionate, Warren.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what happens is, of course, that erodes then any authority. Let's face it, they didn't have much left, but that erodes any authority to do with the police. They've got no respect, therefore they can't police their own country. And what will actually happen, Lembit, is you will start to drive groups underground, and then people will start to take all sorts of different action. And of course, people will meet in secret groups and everything else. And then of course, the government and the police will become more and more paranoid. So the situation will just escalate. It won't get any better if you don't let these things breathe, Lembit. If you don't allow people to vent, then eventually what happens is you get an explosion.
And look what it says there. It's going to be applied consistently by police forces. This will include powers to ban protests outright. In other words, if let's say these protesters get a real groundswell, let's say the police end up trying to arrest tens of thousands of people, all of whom take this decision, a decision I wouldn't take. As I say, I don't like the Palestine Action Group or whatever they're called, but they're going to have tens of thousands of people. They'll say, okay, we're going to ban a lot of you. In other words, we're going to silence your right to speak up against this authoritarian government. And that, to me, is extremely dark. The fact they can't see how bad this is, that's the worst thing of all. But it could be because we've got political giants like David Lammy.
Yeah, so I mean, let's face it. If you put them together, most of them wouldn't have the IQ of an artichoke. The problem that we've got with these people
is... You get banned for
that. Yeah, exactly that. I don't care what Starmer thinks. I don't care what Shabana Mahmood thinks. I don't care what David Lammy thinks. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a free and independent person. I will say whatever I like to say. If people don't like it, that's absolutely fine. If people like it, that's fine. But they will not tell me what I can and cannot say in my own sphere, if you like. My job is to tell people the truth, and I'm going to continue to do that whether they like it or not. And so are you, and people like you. But here's where we have a problem. They are literally in a burning building, and they're throwing firewood onto the burning building. It's as if they were the most unpopular government, the most unpopular leader Britain has ever seen. And all he's doing every single time is making it worse. If somebody doesn't like you, and you take away their ability to say they don't like you, what comes next?
Yeah, exactly. Home Secretary wants police to get more powers to restrict repeated protests. I mean, these people, they're just ordinary people who care about the tremendously upsetting deaths that they see every single day on the television. And you don't actually have to be supportive of a prescribed terrorist organization to not want to see infants blown to pieces by the relentless pummeling of Palestine. This is the extraordinary thing. It's like, what's their crime? These people, they're basically just trying to stop the killing. And I bet you not many of them don't really understand the ins and outs of the actual situation. It's really quite complicated. But they just want to say, can you please stop killing the civilians? And the overwhelming majority of the tens of thousands, or maybe hundreds of thousands, depending whose figures you believe, are actually women, children, and non-combatant males.
Yeah, and I would actually make a plea to the Labour Party or the people in the Labour Party. If you don't get rid of Keir Starmer, if you don't stop this nonsense road that you are going down, it is a one-way road to destruction. You won't get in again into power for another 20, 30 years. People will remember everything that you did when you were last in office. And the people at the ballot box will make you pay for it. When they go, shall we say, to go and, to go and vote and this, that and the other, by the time they change the leader, it'll be too late because people will go, it's just more of the same thing. Labour will not get back into power. I can see Reform being in power for maybe 10 to 15 years. Labour and the Conservatives have literally finished their own parties by what they're doing. And they will not, the people will not forgive or forget.
Yeah, this is the thing. Starmer, who you just saw there, this emotionless, dead behind the eyes delivery of speeches. Starmer doesn't engender confidence even in his own party, let alone across the country. But the damage he can do in the meantime, that's what really bothers me. He can actually undermine our freedom. Here's a perhaps fanciful analogy, but think about it this way. Every year, people are protest voting against Labour. You could actually think, oh, well, they'll say that's a repeated protest with a culminative impact against Labour. So maybe we should restrict people who are allowed to vote. So if you've been caught demonstrating, you might restrict the vote. And I don't think they'll actually do that. But you begin to wonder who defines protesting. What about if people in Parliament repeatedly make the same points that have been made in the street? Why should they be allowed to make a point on television in Parliament that you're not allowed to make outside Parliament? So you end up in this situation where you have an elite which can say these things, and the proletariat which actually gets arrested for saying exactly the same thing. Yeah. That's what I'm worried about, Warren. And this is a very slippery slope, and we're beginning to slide down it. Yeah, the problem is with this, of course, they're going to ban Hamas, Palestine, and everything else. But all the people who support Palestine are now going to go, right, I'm going to go and vote elsewhere. All the people who didn't like the amount of illegal immigration, they're all going to avoid Labour and Conservative like the plague. And what they do with every single, they're literally blocking off every avenue they have of holding on to power. If I was a Labour MP out there, and of course, let's be honest here, I don't trust any, apart from yourself, I don't trust any politicians. They all like to have their spoon in the gravy. Nobody wants to stop being an MP. But Keir Starmer is finishing off maybe 300 of his MPs. He is actually slaughtering with every single breath he takes. He is putting a nail in their political coffin because they will never get in anywhere else. Once this, the way it is going at the moment, unless they have a complete 180, they're not getting into power for another 15 years. All these people who are MPs, they might get jobs elsewhere, but they are finished. Look at the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party are not getting in the next 10 years. We all know this. It's Labour versus Reform. They are finished. And of course, Labour are heading straight down the same chute. Yeah, look at the people who are being arrested. People like that. Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know if she has been, but these look pretty normal to me. And Mr. Monbiot was on television, on the radio recently, and he said he's gone to lots of these demonstrations, and they're some of the most peaceful demonstrations he's ever been on. I feel that these are, by and large, well-meaning, calm people who are really outraged by what they see on the television. And you don't have to be on their side to agree with their right to demonstrate. This is the point that's completely lost on the current authoritarian government. They don't have to agree with these people to not arrest them, to not silence them. But that's what's going to happen. If the police say this protest is illegal, it's not 500 people going to be arrested. It's 5,000 people, ordinary people. And once you break that relationship between the state and the public, because let's remember, government only governs by consent, you're not going to get that back. Yeah, it's already broken for me, Lembit. I mean, we're talking about the contempt that they hold for the ordinary working people. What they want is, there was a great American comedian called Bill Hicks who turned around and said, go back to sleep. I think he was a Canadian, but he turned around and said,
Go back to sleep, America. We'll wake you up when it's time to vote. And that's basically what they're trying to do here. And the British people are looking at it and going, no, this is not good enough. And the moment I get a chance to use your own political system against you, you are going to be out on your ear. And when you are out on your ear, you're not coming back for a long, long time. It is they always say, you know, like the night of the long knives and everything else, but the bombs are held by the British public. And we've already seen that happen when we had the Brexit vote, which of course they didn't decide to do. Of course, there's a huge landslide where the British people reacted very badly to not getting what they voted for.
Look,
they didn't vote for this.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt you. They've handcuffed that guy. They handcuffed him.
Yeah, exactly that. And what you have to remember now is well, we had the BLM, didn't we? And then we had them kneeling for the BLM, and we had the Pride and everything else. And now we've got this. Any last vestige that the police had of having any authority over everybody, people just look at these people and they think they are just government. They're a private government security force. That's all they are. They're not the police of Great Britain anymore.
How does this end for the Labour Party?
Oh, very badly indeed. The Conservatives have finished. They put Kemi Badenoch, who's the diversity guy, and as bad as Labour have been, they can't make any headway above Labour. So that tells you that the electorate have just gone. As long as Farage doesn't even have to say a word, he can just keep completely quiet and get in by a landslide. He doesn't even have to open his mouth. That is how bad Labour and the Conservatives are. And your former party, the Lib Dems, are absolutely hell-bent on joining them. I mean, you would have thought the Lib Dems would go, hey, we're all for freedom of speech. No, not a bit of it. Ed Davies right in there. He's right in there.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, Lembit.
I mean, look at him.
It is unbelievable.
This is a man who's got more MPs than the Lib Dems have had in their history, and this is what he does. It's like I used to share an office with him. Nice enough guy, but for crying out loud, that's not what you do if you want to be prime minister. I mean, that's what a prime minister looks like. And Nigel Farage, as you say, just got to be responsible, not fade into the same blancmange, same vanilla sky uni party. He needs to carry on sounding different. But I reckon that if he does that, then he's got a very good chance of being the next prime minister.
Oh, Lembit, unless there's an earthquake, he is the prime minister in waiting. He knows that all he's got to do is keep his nose clean for the next couple of years, make sure his party doesn't engage in any huge scandals, and they will come for him as the election grows closer. But remember that every day that Keir Starmer stays in office, the less time Labour have to try and recover. And the people aren't stupid anymore, Lembit. They're waking up in huge groves, and they're going, doesn't matter who they put in. Who they're going to put in? West Streeting, a Bilderberg guy. They're not going to want a bar of him once everybody shows his Bilderberg connections. David Lammy, do me a favour. Angela Rayner's already gone. You know, Yvette Cooper, who literally the Home Secretary who didn't stop the boats. Shabana Mahmood, who is the new, shall we say, name on the block, didn't stop the boats. Jeremy Corbyn and you know, the idiot that they've got, he's got in his party, they're at loggerheads, so they're not going to mount a challenge anytime soon. They're fighting each other as we predicted that they would. The Liberals are shooting themselves in the foot. The Conservatives have had a gun to their own head for months, and Labour are literally, how can I put it? They're driving off a cliff. You know, there's this big minibus full of Labour MPs driving off the cliff, and they're shouting Geronimo on the way down.
Yeah, on another occasion, we'll talk about David Lammy. I better resist it now. He's the gift that keeps on giving. In my view, you're right. My opinion is that the Labour Party is in this active process of self-harm. For the Labour Party to restrict protest, given the history of the Labour Party. I mean, Keir Starmer has gone on about his name. Oh, it's Keir Starmer. It obviously, I've been very connected with Labour. Where's your understanding of how Labour was formed? Where's your knowledge about what happened in the 20s and 30s? It's insane that now they want to restrict freedom of movement. But freedom of demonstration, of movement. So if you all plan to turn up for a demonstration somewhere, the police said it's banned, then you'll get arrested, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. The police simply don't have the firepower. They don't have the resources to actually do this. And this is the problem. They literally can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, the Labour Party, and when they got rid of Corbyn and Chris Williamson in the night of the long nights, because it was the pro-Israel lobby getting rid of anybody they thought was anti-Semitic, which is a very easy term to throw around. And of course, it doesn't mean anything anymore, because Semites are a group of Semite is to do with languages, including Arabs. So, of course, once people wake up to these tropes that are easily thrown out, like transphobe or homophobe, it just doesn't mean anything anymore, because everybody uses them so often. And of course, people go, okay, that's a badge, I'll wear with pride. But you're out the door. You've got Alistair Campbell, Gordon Brown, Tony Blair. Peter Mandelson, they still have hold sway within the Labour Party. And of course, Starmer is one of those who sort of, tries to envisage himself as the next Tony Blair, if you like. And of course, these people are, as I say, they're driving Starmer further and further into the abyss. And the fact that the rest of the Labour Party have not already revolted and got rid of Keir Starmer shows how disconnected they are from what's going to happen. And they are about to get, at the next general election, they are going to get such a blow, and they're going to turn around and go, we were ousted by a bunch of racists. They are not going to look, which is a normal British people. They're not going to look internally inside themselves, and go, what did we do wrong?
I can tell you that Nigel Farage isn't a racist, but they use this very distasteful language. And despite their pedantic, tiny little whinging about, we're not saying that everyone who votes reform is racist. That's how it comes across. If you vote reform, we're calling you a racist. That's how it comes across. And I know a lot of people who are voting reform and are just even more angry with Labour.
Yeah.
They say, they think I'm racist because I don't want to subsidize all these illegal immigrants who come in on boats, men of fighting age, live in 4- and 5-star hotels at my expense. Well, in that case, they can, and then expletive deleted off. And that's what they basically are saying now. Okay, go on.
Exactly that, because all they're going to do is people are going to turn around and go, you are calling ordinary, normal, working class people who don't want to have all this problem with Israel, and they don't want to have all this problem with Palestine and Hamas and Ukraine and everything else. They want to take care of their ordinary lives, their ordinary people. They want to be able to not pay tons and tons of money on energy bills for the simple fact that the government has decided it doesn't like Russia and it's on Ukraine's side. And therefore we'll stop paying, we'll stop getting Russian oil. And of course, taking the money off of old age pensioners so you can go and give it somewhere else. We are constantly being bombarded in our schools with all sorts of indoctrination. We are being told what is right, what isn't wrong, by a bunch of people who are in my opinion, are the most corrupt, most dishonest, most disloyal people, totally disconnected. They look at the British people with utter contempt. And when you do that, we will make you pay at the ballot box the next time around. And that is exactly what's going to happen.
And back to where we started, new police powers to protect communities from disruption caused by protests. They're bragging about this. They're basically saying, if you believe in freedom, do not vote for us. If you believe in the right to express things that we, the government, don't agree with, or we, the government, find uncomfortable, then don't vote for us. It's ironic, of course, that for a long time, Labour aligned itself with the Palestinian cause. Then Starmer comes along and keeps saying that Israel has a right to defend itself. And then he apparently does a 180-degree U-turn and says, but I'm going to recognize Palestine. He's all over the place. It's almost like he's breaking his own guidance. Why would he be talking about recognizing Palestine if he feels so sensitively concerned about the feelings of the Israelis?
Yeah, because very simply, you see it, don't you? And go, right. So first of all, I mean, he's in between a rock and a hard place, isn't he? Let's face it. We have sent bombers from Akrotiri Air Base, from Cyprus, over to Gaza to help Israel target men, women, and children in refugee
Is that
camps.
documented? Is that a fact?
It is documented. It is fact. We've actually shown at least 52 flights that have actually done this. Now, the problem is, if we thought for 1 second that here's where they don't, what you would have thought, if you were going to do this, Lembit, is you would secure the borders and not let anybody in who might want to take revenge for, shall we say, tool for terrorists, than to kill an innocent civilian. The moment you do that, of course, you create more terrorists. Now, the problem that we have, and it is a massive problem for me, Lembit, is, first of all, you've let uncontrolled immigration in, and then you've done this. So they don't know which way to turn or whose side they're on.
Okay, well, that's a whole different subject. I don't want to go to town.
Yeah.
We've probably gone too far down that path already, really, because I really need to verify things and all that stuff, and I haven't done that. We were just really talking about.
I can send that across to you.
I'll park it for now, but I want to finish on this. Last word to you. If they do implement these further restrictions on demonstrations, bearing in mind that hundreds, probably thousands of people are already willing to be arrested, what happens next?
I think everybody, this is the tipping point now. I think what with the ID cards that they want to bring in, which again is another restriction of freedoms, everybody says, oh, it might not be. It is, and it will be. This will be locked down, supernova lockdown. Very simply, everybody gets out on the street and protests. Literally civil disobedience. I think it is now, because the government are not listening, Lembit, what do you have left apart from civil disobedience, where you go, I will not comply?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if that happens or not. People are doing this already. These are not demonstrations I happen to go on, but they could affect the demonstration I do go on. And then I'll be faced with the question, what do I do as well? Where can we get...
Sorry, I was going to ask you one question, Lembit. Are you going to arrest 2 million people who turn up on a demonstration?
Well, that's the problem. Once they annoy enough people, then they're probably in that situation already, because they're probably not able to arrest everybody who's breaking this preposterous prescription law about that. It's a stupid organization, I don't like it, but it's stupid, a bit of a strong word, but I just don't agree. I don't like that Palestine Action Group organization. But I bet you there are more people than were arrested with those signs that they seem to write there and then when they arrive. Okay, so finally then, where can people get more? We've covered so many things, touched on many more. Where can we get more Warren Thornton?
Well, you can come and find us at warrenthornton.com. You can find us on X every night with a live show at 6 p.m. You can find us on the wonderful Unprecedented TV at 11 a.m. every single morning. And, of course, Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And, of course, on Sunday nights with the wonderful Lembit Öpik from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Thank you so much, Warren Thornton. We've got to do something about your picture. You often look like you're kind of an early AI. Please. I can assure you all, ladies and gentlemen, Warren Thornton is alive and well and living in the Philippines. We've got to do something about that signal. Thanks very much for watching. Have your say as well. My view is this. Wherever you stand on the Palestine demonstrations, wherever you stand on Zionism or Israel, surely we can all agree that wherever you are on those positions, or on climate, or on transsexual rights, or on abortion rights, you've got the right to demonstrate. You've got the right to have your say. Because if you say you don't have the right to say, the assumption is the public is so unintelligent that it's easily led by the wrong people. Well, let's remember that 2/3 of the country voted against the current Labour government. They only got about 1/3 of those who bothered to vote, and 20% of the electorate as a whole. So you could say they don't have a mandate to be there at all. Perhaps the biggest problem we've got is that they sit in the cabinet making decisions that many of us disagree with, and they don't listen. Who's going to keep them to account if they don't understand that they're accountable to us? I put out an X recently which says that under this current government, our liberty is seriously at threat. Something has to give, and the people who have to give are our servants, the people we pay to work for us, and that's the government, not the other way around. Enjoy the other shows we got here as well. Do stay, and please subscribe to Unprecedented TV on YouTube. It's just a big ask. It doesn't cost you anything. Please subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the more programs we can make as well. It does work that way. So thanks so much indeed for watching. That was Lembit Öpik Live here on Unprecedented TV. Have a good day.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.